Why did the Industrial Revolution increase child mortality? You might think new machines saved lives, but factories crowded families into dark, unheated rooms where disease thrived. I'm Luca, a curious historian, and in the next 3 minutes I'll walk you through the cramped houses, the shaky food supplies, and the stagnant living standards that drove infant deaths sky high. Ready? Luca steps into a bustling factory town market and sees mothers clutching empty sacks, the result of unreliable food supplies. In those big towns, infant deaths rose to 186 per 1,000 children under 1. With little nutrition, newborns grew frail and fell sick quickly. Luca notes the grim numbers and asks, could the cramped homes they returned to make things even worse? Luca walks down a narrow alley of factory houses and sees soot-covered walls, multiple families sharing a single cramped room, no windows, no heat. Such dirty, unheated, unventilated homes let disease spread like wildfire among infants. The cramped conditions alone pushed mortality sky high. Luca wonders, was the overall standard of living really getting better despite these deaths? Luca flips open his notebook and reads Huck's 1995 study, which found that rising infant mortality in industrial parishes signaled that living standards weren't improving much up to the mid-century. Even as factories multiplied, the death rate stayed high, showing a stagnant quality of life. Luca asks, how did later scientific breakthroughs finally begin to turn the tide on these grim numbers? Luca spreads a simple map on the table. Dark red dots mark the big factory towns, bright green squares the surrounding farms. He points out that infant deaths reached 186 per 1,000 in the crowded towns, while the countryside saw only 132 per 1,000. The gap shows that industry itself was a death trap. But why did some industrial centers still manage lower rates later? Luca flips to a timeline where the rise of factories is a tall gear, while a tiny beaker of medicine appears years later. He recalls J.C. Caldwell's research that the scientific revolution only began to lower mortality decades after the factories roared. The delay meant generations of children suffered before cures arrived. So, what finally broke the chain? Luca lifts a dusty ledger from a rural parish. It shows that, unlike the factories, child deaths under 10 were actually lower there, confirming the overall variation noted across regions. Even as industrial towns surged, some villages kept mortality down, proving the rise wasn't universal. How does this reshape our view of progress? Why did the Industrial Revolution increase child mortality? Because families were crammed into overcrowded, dirty, unheated homes, food was unreliable, and living standards barely rose, so disease spread. In big towns, infant deaths hit 186 per 1,000 versus 132 in the countryside. Scientific advances cut the numbers, but only after generations suffered. Now we see progress can hide costs. Remember this lesson. That's the whole story at a glance. Now you know, draw me the world.